Hi, my name is Alistair McRae, and this is my video review of The Soul Graffiti for UK Film Review. The film is written and directed by Jack Ainsworth, and it stars Danielle Browner as Nikki Bliss, Kyle Lothan as Ben Cross, and Justin Stidham as Ray Deakins Jr. The film opens with a bit of exposition, with a few people sat around talking on the Old 77 podcast, and they're discussing a smaller radio station in St. Anthony, Missouri, formerly known as KANT or 101 The Boot, which has been rebranded by its new owner as 101 The Jam and is now a pop music station instead of a country music station. Then we jump to another bit of exposition, a montage by intern Madison D, played by Hannah Hart, who brings the audience fully up to speed on the situation, where the former owner Ray Deakins has died and passed it down to his son Ray Deakins Jr., who made the decision to change it from country music station to strictly regimented pop music playlist. And now the station is bleeding advertisers and struggling to stay afloat, where Deakins Jr. is now laying off members of the staff, including long-term DJs and the 28-year veteran local news reporter. Leading the team to try and keep things afloat is Nikki Bliss, the morning DJ, and meanwhile elsewhere, Ben Cross is being dumped by his fiancée for not being ambitious enough. He moves into a motel, and then, through coincidence, one day in a local record shop, he bumps into Nikki Bliss, who decides to give him some purpose and direction. And the two come together and try and help each other find what they need in their lives. The Soul Graffiti is a formulaic but fairly enjoyable feel-good comedy drama. You kind of know what you're going to get on the way in. That said, the title comes from that classic Midway speech, the life-affirming speech which Nikki Bliss gives to Ben Cross, talking about how people give each other a little bit of colour in each other's lives. They leave marks on each other, like graffiti. The core characters of Nikki Bliss and Ben Cross play off each other very well. Nikki Bliss is a bit pushy and demanding, but she seems to get things done in the day-to-day. She is the one keeping the radio station afloat after all. But she can't seem to make the big things in her life work. She wants to make a trip to California that never seems to materialize for her because she's too busy with her day-to-day. And she's, in trying to keep the station afloat, she's leaning a bit too hard into drinking and maybe alienating the people around her, compensating for the hard work she does in the day by partying at night. Whereas Ben Cross is more the classic introvert to Nikki Bliss's extrovert, and he doesn't quite know how to interact with people. He listens to sales books on his drives and doesn't quite know how to put the information that he learns into practice. He doesn't have that confidence, that self-awareness, and so how the two play off each other and help each other meet their goals is really interesting. With low budget or even micro budget, maybe in this case, indie filmmaking, it's always worth a bit of discretion when it comes to image quality and maybe even camera work and framing. In this case, it looks like they're leaning more into the characters and the dialogue to give color to the film, as opposed to the image itself. But when it comes to the audio quality, it becomes a bit harder to ignore, particularly when it is set inside a radio station. And they make quite a lot of use of music, whether it be the original score or pre-existing songs that they play in the background. Sometimes they sit a little too high, a little too low in the mix, and it can be quite distracting, particularly when the character's dialogue is recorded as quite scratchy or not quite as crisp as you'd like it to be. Then it can be quite distracting and maybe even take you out of the scene. And it's even more noticeable and distracting when they are actually situated inside a radio booth, sat in front of a professional mic, and their dialogue is echoing. But that said, it's not a major issue. It just maybe takes you up the bubble a little bit. Overall, I would say the Soul Graffiti is quite an enjoyable experience, but it is quite formulaic and quite rigid in that, and it runs a little too long, an hour and 50 minutes, considering The story does lose its way in some of the plot beats, but it doesn't quite have that something extra special, that spark, to make it worth recommending over something else. I did toy between 2 and 3 stars, and I think it settles on 2, and I think that's a fair estimation of it. Thank you for tuning into my video review of The Soul Graffiti for UK Film Review. For more reviews, check out our website.